Hey everybody, Danny Mard here. Thanks for joining us. This week we're going to teach you how to hit your driver straight. But you know what? We have got a huge dark cloud above us right now and it looks like it's due to absolutely lash it down. So we've got to get this video out to you with tremendous value, but really quickly, otherwise I'm going to get soaked and this video is going to fail. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover exactly how you set up to driver every single time. We're going to cover primarily here what you need to be doing with the club head. A lot of the videos that I've put in the past, we've talked about the body action, but today I'm going to talk about the main thing, the club face, what you should be doing with this club face. This is the thing that hits a golf ball. So if you're slicing it or you're hooking it, you need to be able to control the face, and that is what we're going to focus on in this week's training. So before we do, of course, if you're new to the channel and this is one of your first videos, consider subscribing. I release content like this every single week to help you improve your game. So with regards to setup, what I want you to do is this. You've got to remember with driver, we're trying to launch this ball up into the sky. We don't want to have low shots, they don't travel very far. We want to get that ball launching up into the sky. So you need to have a setup that's going to help that. What we want to be able to do here is this. We want the ball nicely opposite the inside of our lead foot here. Now the best way to find that position is get the ball lined up with the middle of your feet, take a tiny step to your left if you're a right-hander, and a bigger step to your right. That finds the ball position. Now from this place here, what we then want to do is we want to get the club in place. We want the hands behind the club head, and we want our head behind the hands. Now this, can you see straight away, this creates almost this shape. I almost call it the launch pad effect. We're trying to get you launching up in the air. If I got my head over here, suddenly my sternum's more in line with the golf ball and I start to come down too steeply onto the back of the golf ball and we don't get it launching upwards. So setup is absolutely crucial. So let's have a look at this. So you get the ball opposite left heel, hands behind the ball and head behind the hands, and then just start to make a few swings where basically you start to come into the back of the golf ball and almost try to get back to where you were. So your head's here, your hands are there, and the club's in front of the hands. Let's have a look at that. Okay, nice and simple, but really, really important point, and most people miss it. The next thing from there is this. A lot of people who are putting a lot of spin on it are often coming down quite steeply on their drivers. They're from the top of the backswing, they're hitting quite hard, they come quite steep, and if you have a look here, our body's gone where? Where's our head gone again? It's gone over the top of the golf ball as opposed to stay behind it, and we start to get that descending blow as opposed to ascending blow. So what I've done here is I've put a T-peg. If you look at here, it's about a foot behind the golf ball. I'm on a driving range here. I've just put like a driving range tee, but out on the golf course on a tee, just put a tee peg about 1 foot behind the back of the golf ball. And what we're trying to do here is we need to bottom out the golf club behind the back of the ball. So what I want you to do is I want you to make some swings, and I want you to try and get the club head actually striking the tee, the back tee, before you hit the golf ball. What this is going to show you is the club's going to come down, it's going to bottom out, it's going to start to hit the tee 1 foot behind and then start to ascend on the golf ball. A great way of getting the head working correctly through the impact area. So a foot behind the ball, we get it swinging back, and we're going to hit the tee. Absolutely perfect, and that gets the ball launching up. Let's have another look at that. So nice, simple. Again, I'm not going for majorly massive swings at the moment. All I'm trying to do here is illustrate factors that you need. Setup is hugely important here. Setting behind. Now we need to learn how to keep behind, and exercise like this means you don't have to think too much about it. All you got to do is just don't go at that tee, just make some swings and start to swing backwards and forwards, brushing the back tee before you hit the front tee. Now we start to get that lovely launch. That moves me now onto the third point. So that controls flight, that controls what the club head is doing through the impact area. We're starting to get more ascending blow. But we need to learn how to get this club face square at impact if you want to hit straight shots. So what I've got here is, you can use alignment rods. I've just got my 2-iron here. And what I want you to do is just lay either a alignment rod, or in this case a 2-iron on the ground. And what I want you to do here is this, is you need to learn the feel of this club head. So many of us are trying to work on our bodies, etc. And you've got to remember that our bodies do not hit the golf ball. The club head hits the golf ball. So you need to become aware of the feel of this face. If you can't feel the face, how are you supposed to change it? Yeah? So you want to learn the sensation. If you're a slicer, you need to learn how to close the face. And if you're a hooker, you need to learn how to open it so it can become squarer. So what we do is this just acts as a straight line. So what we're going to do here is this. We're going to make a swing. Okay, get ourselves into the setup position here, and we're going to swing back. And what I'm going to do now is this. If you're a slicer, you're going to get the sensation of stopping impact with the club face starting to turn inwards. So you're turning inwards. I like to almost feel like that if you like this, your knuckles are turning to the floor. Your knuckles are turning to the floor at impact. Turn those knuckles into the floor. All right. Now the opposite is true. If you're a hooker of the golf ball, you might want to, in a sense, when you're a hooker of the ball, you might want to feel like your knuckles are turning up to the sky, up to the sky, up to the sky. That's a sensation. The reality will be very different, but what you're trying to do here, as the rain starts coming in, what you're trying to do here is you're trying to get a sensation of the face, yeah? So the way to work on this, you've got your alignment in here. You're trying to get that club face nice and square. You make a few swings to get a sense of this. And what is common with a lot of top players, they don't go straight in now and start smashing golf balls. What they do now is they start to make some swings and they start to get a feel of this. So I'm gonna come from a position, because a lot of people are slicers, I'm gonna come from a position of slicing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make some swings now, and we're going to get a sensation here of the knuckles closing in or turning down towards the ground. Bang, get that sensation. Turn those knuckles towards the ground. And then what we do is this, make some swings backwards and forwards. We've got our setup, we've got our head behind the golf ball, you've got the tee peg behind, and all we're going to do now is turn the knuckles towards the ground. And notice this, I'm almost stopping short. At no stage, it's not an artificial. I'm really trying to get that club face swinging and get the feeling here. I'm not going big, full out smashes. It's very difficult to feel anything or learn anything at that pace. So get those knuckles turning to the ground. If you are a slicer, it really, really helps. So my final point here is this. I coach a lot of people, and sometimes I think because we get stuck in a rut sometimes, whether they're hookers or you're a slicer, we get stuck in a little bit of a rut, and one of the downsides is that we feel like we don't do what I think this is a common sense thing. If I use this silly analogy of someone playing tennis, and you've got the coach at the other side of the tennis court, and the guy is saying, look, you know, put some topspin on the tennis ball, and the person's going, and the tennis coach goes, no, topspin, put some topspin on. And the guy's constantly putting backspin on the tennis ball. It wouldn't make any sense, would it? You know, even if you don't play tennis, my bet is that most of you would do this for topspin and this for backspin. But in golf, it should be that simple as well. If you want to change your shape of the shot, you should be able to change your shape at will, just because all you're trying to do is change spin. So you should be able to do this. If you can't, my bet is you just kind of hypnotize into this kind of old way of being. You're always trying to stop your slice. So one of the things I would say is this. If you're cutting the ball and you want to kind of learn to close that face down so it starts to become much straighter, I want you now to finally start to get that ball feeling or visualize the ball turning over right to left. And the question I always get asked is, well, I don't know how to do that. You don't need to know how initially. Just make your best effort at closing this face. So when we can now combine the knuckles going down now with some visualization of what you're trying to do here. So I'm not trying to stop a slice now. I'm not going to try and stop a hook. I'm actually actively doing something. So I've got myself set up. The tee's behind, that's got in my launch. Now what I'm going to do here is I turn my knuckles down. I'm going to match this now with a visualization. I'm trying to train my body, seeing the shape of the shot here. Even though I'm maybe a natural slicer, I am going to see that shape going right to left. There he goes, right to left. Again, exactly the same if you're a hooker of the golf ball. You know, imagine you're slicing a tennis shot. You know, get yourself there. Feel like the knuckles are working more up to the sky and you're slicing the ball if you're a hooker. That is the simplest way to start to learn to square that face up every single time and start to hit those drives dead straight. So let's summarize. What have we done? The first thing we need to do, we said, look, we've got to learn to control this club head. The rain's coming in now. We're going to learn to control this club head. The first thing you need to do, you've got to be set up correctly to drive it. You've got to get that body in a position where you are literally behind the golf ball. How do you do this? Balls forward, hands behind ball, head behind hands. Make some swings, coming into impact, getting this sensation so you know what that feels like. Second thing, put a tee peg 1 foot behind the golf ball, and then what you want to try and do is make sure the club brushes that tee peg before it hits the golf ball. This way, what happens, if I exaggerate, is your club is bottoming out behind the ball and then starts to come up, which is what we need with a driver. Then we said, look, what we need to do is we need to learn to get a sensation of how do you square that club face up through impact. Get an alignment rod. In this case, I've just got my 2-iron, and what I want you to do here is just make some swings and stop at impact and get the sensation. If you're a slicer of the golf ball, you need to get a sensation of what a closed club face feels like. I said turn the knuckles to the ground, turn the knuckles to the ground, stop there. Learn the feel. You must teach your body what it feels like. All the understanding is great, but you've got to teach it the feel. If you're a hooker, teach it what it is to feel like. It's you know what an open face actually feels like. Knuckles up a little bit more. Yeah. Teach the body what's that supposed to feel like. Once you've done that once or twice, pair it with some visualization. If you're a hooker, visualize it cutting. If you're a slicer, visualize the ball hooking. You may not hook it or slice it to start with, but you've got to start to add the vision, and then what you do is you hit those shots, getting that sensation of what you should be doing through the impact area. I hope you really enjoyed this. Please say you do, because it is starting to rain. I'm getting absolutely soaked. But if you enjoyed the training, of course, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Of course, if anyone else is struggling, or any of your friends are struggling with their driving and they think this video might help, please share it. But until next week, have a great golfing week. I'm off to get dry.